Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, commodities, ETFs that I follow. I'm going to interject my financial opinions as we go. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where we go over individual sectors, individual companies, and what I think is ready to do well. I also answer a lot of questions during our question and answer meeting, which we have at 5 p.m. Sunday this weekend, Mountain Time. All right, let's dive in here. Let's see what's going on. So the dollar's holding steady. It is holding steady. We're moving sideways in the dollar. So right now, it still looks good to me to head higher. I know. People think that this is going to drop because yields could potentially drop, and we'll see what yields look like next. But this is still holding on quite strong, and I don't see a ton of selling pressure to push this thing lower yet. 2-year yield, it is breaking to the downside, and we could be coming back within the pattern. We'll see what tomorrow has in store for us for the 2-year. The longer end of the curve still looks resilient to go higher. So the long end, the 10-year here, still looks good to go up. The 30-year still looks good to go up. We're right up against a little bit of resistance that we run into before. We're up against that resistance line in a little bit of selling pressure, but that still looks good to go higher. TYX TNX ratio, we're coming up a little bit. The short end of the curve fell more than the long end of the curve today. And this is coming, we'll see if this comes back up. That's generally when gold does well, but it's usually when the curve goes down, not continuing to go up in an uptrend. So that is something to think about. TLT, we're up a little bit today. We're up against that support level. This still could go lower here. With yields heading higher on the long end, bonds could still continue to go sideways or lower here in the short term. And again, yields going up, they generally follow oil and inflation. And it seems like the longer end of the curve is pricing in more inflation. 2 and 10-year yield curve, it is uninverting. Are we going to punch through and get more towards a lower level where a potential slowdown could occur? We'll see. What will that slowdown be? Some people think liquidity crisis because of businesses or something like that. I don't know. I see a lot of counter data to a lot of the bear cases with construction employment, et cetera. They all look pretty strong to me. Gold basically sideways today. So we had stronger dollar and lower yields, and gold was basically undecided. I still think that this could potentially head lower if rates continue higher, 10-year, 30-year. Silver up a little bit. It's still within the pattern. This is the pattern that I'm talking about. It is still squeezing up. It's still underneath big trend line that we haven't broken yet. I'm not saying it won't be broken. When this thing breaks, guys, better be ready. Better be ready. Platinum down a little bit today. So there we are with platinum, and we're getting that bounce back and forth. Like I said, the trampoline jumps. Palladium's doing the same thing. We're getting that trampoline jumps where it goes back and forth in a bottoming pattern. Buyers equal to sellers. It just goes sideways for a little bit. XAU to gold ratio, we're up a little bit for gold and silver mining companies, outperforming gold itself. Fortunately, we're still underneath that big trend line that we haven't broken yet. Everything still looks good. We're still making new higher lows. And if we stick it here, we could easily break at any time. We got the CRB index. That is also continuing higher, up 0.52% today. Looking good. I think oil is the driver of this bad boy. Let's keep the momentum rolling. CRB to S&P flat today, but still looks good to try to work its way on up. There's big bullish engulfing on the weekly if we can close the week strong. So GDX up 1.99%. There we are. This still looks good to go lower though. It's not a reversal candlestick. Momentum still to the downside. GDXJ, same thing, momentum still to the downside. And SILJ, same thing, momentum to the downside. And we're coming up into resistance, and it's probably, that's my guess. If yields go higher, my guess is that the silver area is going to go lower, silver and gold. Crude oil up quite a bit today. We got that breakout here, and now we're starting to stretch our legs to the upside. The commercial oil inventories, based off of where they're at, has a fair value of about $78. That's roughly where we're at. We're at 77.22. And we'll see if this thing can continue higher. It's looking pretty good. TTF gas down 5%. It's squeezing below the trend line and the support level that goes all the way back and across on top of here. So we are squeezing on up. I actually think this looks good for a break higher, but we'll see. We'll see. Natural gas also, we were up big in the morning. Then we sold off throughout the day. There's the big move lower. For natural gas, very volatile. And we're back at that resistance support level that we've got going across. We are coming to springtime, which is generally the weakest portion of the time of year. But I do think we will eventually work our way on up at some point. I think we are below the cost curves of some of these shale plays at $2.59 million cubic foot, or MMBTU. I think it's MMBTU. XOP, yeah, you know me, hitting it up 1.75%. It was looking a little bit weaker towards middle of the day, but it finished strong, and that's what matters. You can see for Thursday on the daily here, Wednesday. So Thursday we gapped up, kind of went weaker through the middle of the day, and then finished strong. Let's hope that momentum can continue into tomorrow and really get us a shot up higher. Now, the big picture move here, guys, is that a shoulder, head, shoulder that is developing here where we could potentially break? I don't know. We'll see here. That's what I'm seeing there. OIH, the energy service companies, also finishing decently strong towards the end of the day. There it is. You can see we went all the way back up. So we gapped up in the morning, did a big V shape, and the momentum's going to the upside. So that's good. And again, let's hope that momentum can continue for energy service companies continuing higher. We've got Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, almost a full retest of this breakout. I think it'll probably maybe throw a little like hammer candlestick or something tomorrow. Maybe it gaps down and then works its way back up throughout the day. That's kind of what we want to see if it does do that. URA also pulling back, closing some gaps here. So we'll see if the gaps are closed and if we can get some upside momentum. Right now, downside momentum exists. Uranium also, we could come a little bit further down. I mean, down to about $50 if we want to do a full retest of kind of this breakout high. And then URNJ down a little bit. It doesn't look bad though, guys. Really what it's doing is it's basically flagging out. And it may take some time. I mean, maybe we do this for a little bit before breaking. Just be patient. It's not the end of the world if you have to wait a couple of weeks. TAN down a little bit higher yields. It's trying to put in a bottom here. See all these little wicks at the bottom? Those are the hammer candlesticks. It's trying. I'm not a big fan of TAN just in general. They don't make any money, but someone could say that about uranium too. Most of those companies don't make any money. But yeah, that's where we're at. Looks like it's trying to put in a bottom. COPX, the copper ETF, this thing is up 0.8%. I think this is going to go higher this year. Reason is copper is now running a deficit. So inventories are going to get eaten up, and I think this will eventually work its way on up. Lithium coming back, doing that retest thing all the way back to 35, $36. And that's what we're doing. We're still has momentum to the downside. REMX also has momentum to the downside. And again, these guys don't like increasing yields. They hate it. So I think we've got more further downside potentially. S&P 500 still making its way higher. I don't know how, but it is still looking good. And then NASDAQ also up a little bit, up against resistance, and we'll see if we can punch through it. But this is where everybody, their mom and their grandma, is buying shares over in companies with price to earnings ratios of over 100. Good luck on the ending of that. KRE, busting up, doing a little retest today. That still looks good to go higher in the regional banking ETF. This actually looks pretty good for a move higher. Emerging markets right underneath resistance. We've been basically chopping sideways this entire time. XHB up 2%. We had lower long-term yields. The 10-year is a big deal. And this thing basically trades opposite of the 10-year yield. If we get the 10-year yield to drop, see ya wouldn't want to be ya. You're going to get a whole bunch of housing demand when mortgage rates go down. Moo up a little bit, but looks like we're aiming to come back to this support zone at 69. Copper down a little bit, but that is a bloody nose. A bloody nose, a small down candlestick next to some big green ones, which generally means that the upward momentum is still in play. Iron ore down a little bit, but again, I think iron ore is just going to work its way on up. It's going to grind on higher for a little while. We've got aluminum up a little bit, 0.4%, and it's above support. I still think we're going to go higher with aluminum. There's going to be some deficits out in 2024 coming up, much like copper. Baltic Dry Index up 2.3%. There's going to be some shipping problems. I would expect this to go higher over time. Newcastle coal down 2.7%. I still think this is a great opportunity to be looking at potential coal investments as oil goes up. I think eventually natural gas will go up if we can build out the LNG terminals. And I know some people are talking about LNG terminals not getting approval by our government. We'll see what happens there. Bitcoin flat today. It still looks good to go lower. No real bounce, and it's just stair steps lower here. So lower for Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's trying to turn here, but momentum's to the downside. We have to see a candlestick to turn this thing around if it decides to turn around. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. We've got a 5 p.m. question answer session coming up on Sunday, Mountain Time. You can use the word discount if you want to join. And I think that's basically it. Oil is looking pretty good. That's probably the best sector. Pretty much was the sector I was watching and adding into. So not too bad. I don't feel too bad about all this. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.